On this week's episode of Consumed, we're going to talk to a consumer, and this conversation is going to get a little weird and a little wild, particularly when the conversation starts to dip into compensation. Don't miss it. This is Consumed, the podcast for real estate agents who are tired of hearing the same old industry stuff and want to experience something completely different. After last week's episode, I got so much user and listener feedback on having conversations with consumers and how much they enjoyed my previous conversation with consumers. I thought, you know what? It's called Consumed for a reason. Let's do it again. And I am incredibly excited to have Mike on with us because Mike has years of experience in the buying and selling process as a consumer and is currently in the buying and selling process. So I thought it'd be great to have a guest this week on who's been through it, in it, and we're going to just kick it right off the bat. Mike, thank you for being here and taking the time to talk with us.
Appreciate it, Lance. It's great to be here. I love the content and happy to share my perspective on, the buying and selling aspect of what you guys do. So this is great.
Amazing. So just for a little context, because again, demographics matter, right? Tell us, what do you do for a living?
Yeah. So I, like you and everyone probably listening on this call, I've been in sales my entire career. In fact, my first job out of college was commercial real estate brokerage. So for a time being, I was a commercial real estate broker. But fast forward to now, I've spent the last 10 years in technology sales, digital transformation, innovation, AI, and all that stuff, but certainly on the sales side particularly.
Well, we all know how much agents love AI. So that's going to be, and we'll cover that one too. But good. So how old are you?
I am 41.
41, right? And married, kids?
Yes, married, have a 2-year-old, just over 2-year-old daughter, and a baby boy on the way, coming June 30th.
Congratulations on
Thank
never
you.
sleeping again. That's always a good thing to have right there for you.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. So I know you actually fit into the category of upsizers, right? Because you've
Interesting.
got child under 2 and another one on the way. So my assumption would be you said you're currently in the selling process of your current
Yes,
home.
correct.
Tell us a little bit about why you decided to sell.
Yeah. So, we love the house that we have been in for the last 3 years. But I recently changed jobs, went to a different company starting in January in New York City. So I'm based out in Connecticut. So the commute from this particular location was not ideal, right? It was about 2 hours, give or take, door to door, on a 3 time per week basis. So that was a kick in the right direction of moving from a more accessible location to New York City. So that was really the impetus.
And I guess the biggest thing right off the bat is I want to just get people warmed up into the idea that you don't really have any preconceived experiences besides the commercial experience, correct? So
Yeah,
you've never been an actual real estate agent in the residential side or any of that, correct?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay. So here we go. Right off the bat, I'm gonna throw you a curveball, let's just say.
Go ahead.
When you think of the word real estate agent, what's the first thing that pops in your head?
That's a great question.
The fact that you even paused, by the way, and started thinking about this lets me know that you're already filtering what's probably already popped in your head. But go ahead.
No, I've been on both sides. I've had experience with really good real estate agents and not so good real estate agents. So when you say what's the first thing that pops into my mind, it's tough because I've had those two experiences. So one I see on the negative side is like, this is a hobby that somebody's just trying to, either stay busy or try to make a little bit of money. They're not necessarily like actively doing this as a career or a business. That's one that I would say on the negative side. But on the good side, I would say that, someone that is just ultimately fighting for your best interests. And at no point, really trying to push something that feels like they are just trying to get this deal done. And
Interesting.
I think there's a nuance there because there is a good push and there's a bad push. And the experience that I had on the buying of my new house that we will be closing on soon is a push, but based on my interest of getting the house and what I needed to do, or what my wife and I needed to do to secure that house.
Okay.
So it's a push, but not a push to in a direction that we didn't want to go in.
Okay. So what's the bad touch?
The bad touch is somebody that, we were recommended, that touted that they were knowledgeable about an area that we found that they had absolutely no knowledge of. And there's one thing that when I was thinking about when I was coming on here, is something that I found very interesting is, when I was thinking about working with a real estate agent, I thought that they were going to be completely on top of what is out there. And the second it's available, I should be aware of that. But on the negative side, I felt like I was finding out what was available and then bringing it to them.
Interesting. And do you think that's because you're, as a consumer, more savvy and just seeing what's out there, it's more interesting, more easily accessible to you? Or do you think it was them as the agent, they just didn't care and weren't on top of things?
On the negative side, I have to go towards not on top of things in that specific situation, because it's like, why am I every day, couple times a day on, not just relying on MLS. There's a million other listing services and other platforms that are, you got to keep your hand, your finger on the pulse. And, I know that Zillow doesn't necessarily have the best information, or realtor.com or Redfin or whatever, insert whichever platform, but it doesn't matter. Like, I know MLS is the system of truth, but you still need to be aware of what else is going on out there.
And would you say that you're probably a little more savvy than the average bear out there? Because even you using the term MLS tells me that you're already probably, slightly more knowledgeable. Or do you think that you're on par with everybody else?
I don't know. I guess I would think that I would be on par, in my vacuum. Um, but I guess I thought that I would be on par, because I figured that a lot of people are very savvy on the internet these days, especially people around my age. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
when you get older, that's kind of an apples and oranges comparison. But people my age, I feel like are very savvy in terms of being able to get on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, what have you.
Is there anything that you would say when it comes to those portals? We'll call them the portals, right? Is there anything that you would say you like about the portal experience versus what the agent does for you? Or
I think that the portals are great. One, I just think they look better from a user experience perspective than MLS does,
Mhm,
just in terms of like UI. Now, that's my tech background kind of
mhm,
coming through there, but they just
mhm.
look and feel better. The navigation is better. The information, to the point of like the font is just even more like visually appealing, you know? So I think it's very easy for me to be able to engage on those. Whereas MLS is like, like a DMV for the real estate business.
And you're referencing the MLS. Is that because the agents that you work with typically will send you listings directly from the MLS?
That's true. Yep,
Okay.
that's been the experience in the past. Yep.
Have you ever worked with an agent that has their own portal? And what I mean by that is their own system in which they are operating collaboratively from that system. So an example would be there's certain brokerages that have a unified collaborative system where that agent sends you a link. You then can log in. You can see all of the properties that are currently available. You can comment on things. The agent on their end sees those comments live time and can respond back. So you're actually in that. Have you ever had that experience or no?
So no, but I think that is an absolute home run for agents, because on the mortgage side, you
Mm-hmm.
do have that. So you have the
Mm,
portal of all the documents. These are outstanding. You need to sign these. So being able to have a portal of all of the disclosures, the contracts, every document, the plot map or whatever that's coming with a associated property, I
yeah.
think is an absolute home run for real estate agents in this day and age. But on the real estate agent side, I have not seen that besides like harding it on MLS.
So, okay, so that's really helpful, I think, for agents to hear and understand, because from a consumer perspective, those portals and those types of engagements exist. I think good agents will use that type of experience because it also brings you into, right, our world as an agent to be able to have that type of a relationship where we're all working from the same sheet of music. So I think that's a really big helper for people to hear and understand, which is going to lead me to my next somewhat controversial question. How do you feel about private listings? And let me just explain to you what I mean by that. That means that there would be let's just say there was an area of the world in which listings could be made private, and that your property as a seller could be put there so that only agents within that brokerage or only people on that one particular portal could see that listing for a period of time. Nobody else publicly could see it. What would you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I think it differs whether you're a buyer or a seller, in my opinion. If I'm a seller, that might be something that I would be open to, because if there is some quick wins or good fit on the buying side for me as the seller, where we're keeping it like, kind of private and curated, I
Mm-hmm.
like that. But as a buyer, I think that I don't know how that would drive any value for me specifically, unless, I guess, and now that I'm saying that, unless I am the buyer and I am have exclusive access to a property that I love, I guess would be the positive from a buying perspective.
I think the hard part there becomes, how would you even know that that was available? So let's go back to the seller side, because this is a big debate in real estate currently. On the seller side, yes, you would have the option for privatized. Do you think, though, that if you were trying to get the highest and best price for your property, do you feel that keeping it in a private area would get that for you?
No, I don't. On paper, I don't. I think it would have to be very situational and subjective. Hey, I have a very quick timeline that I need to meet here. Price isn't the most important thing to me. Maybe as a seller, because I know some people feel very strongly about actually the worth or the culture or who is actually going to be buying my house from a personal perspective is important to people. But purely on price, absolutely not. It doesn't seem like that would be the way to get the highest price for your property.
Okay. Thank you, because I think that's gonna the whole bunch of people listening right now in their cars just drove off the road. Um, because that is one of the biggest debates. There are brokerages out there, who I will not mention, who are actively pushing to privatize listings, which is the way that it used to be before there was what was called clear cooperation, which means the multiple listing services and the boards would require you within a certain amount of time of taking a listing to put it on the MLS so that it would have fair and equal distribution so everybody could see the property.
Okay.
Brokerages now, one brokerage in particular is working diligently to privatize and create a private network, in essence, so that properties are then only seen by one brokerage or one portal, right, for a period of time before they would then go out to the public market. And the argument has always been made on their side that that is because consumers should have the right to privatize a listing if they wanted to, and you can't tell a consumer what they can and can't do with their property. Sure, to be clear, you've always been able to privatize your listing. That's always been an option for you. So it's not something new. What I think the debate is, though, is that really is being done to benefit the brokerage and their financial investment to increase their transactions, right? Their transaction volume amongst themselves and drive more leads into their system. So is it in the best interest of consumers? I mean, you tell me, you're a consumer. Does that sound like it is in the best interest of a consumer?
It doesn't on a general level at all, in my opinion, right? Like maybe if I have a $20 million house and there's very, certain it has a golf course or what, like some crazy thing where it's only a very small aspect of the population that is going to want this house. Okay, fine. But from a general perspective, that would make no sense to me personally. And really, that would say to me, hey, this brokerage is just looking to get both sides of this deal from a commission perspective.
And just to be clear, also, nobody until you just said it didn't know that you weren't selling a $20 million property on a golf course. You didn't have to give that away, by the way, right up front. But so
Slightly less.
so incredibly helpful. Let's talk about the next big question. You know, you've bought and sold several properties before. You're in the process right now. Tell me what you understand and know about compensation these days, how agents get compensated, how is it explained to you? What do you know about any of that?
So when we were buying a house, it's really not explained to us at all, right? From a buying perspective. Now, obviously, I have knowledge of the situation to some degree anyway, because one, I'd been through it. One, I was, an agent at some point. I know the commission structure and how it works. From a buying side, the way it was presented to me was, hey, here's my commission as the selling agent. And in order to get the most amount of visibility, traction, and eyes on the property, we want to have that 2.5% of so 7.5% total, 5% to the selling broker, and then 2.5% to the buying broker, in order to attract as the most amount of offers to the house. That's how it was explained to me.
You said from the buying perspective, meaning as the seller, that's what you were explained.
Yes.
As to how to handle the buyer.
At the buying side, it really wasn't explained at all. Luckily, I kind of knew what was going on, but nothing was like, hey, this is how it's going to work from a buying side.
So, and you and I have never talked about this. So I just want to be very, very clear to the listeners out there that we've never had this conversation. So just so that I'm understanding it correctly, you just said that your current situation, and we're gonna or any situation you've had previously in selling, your agent is getting 5% and the buyer is getting 2.5%. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So you're giving 7.5% commission.
Right.
What if I told you that the way that was explained to you was not only inaccurate, but illegal?
I would, first of all, I would check to make sure that I actually am speaking in the right context of what I was saying. And two, I don't know what I would say to that, to be completely honest with you, because I'm frankly shocked to hear it. Now, let me just also level set that I have been very happy with, very happy and also confident in the conduct of my current selling broker.
100%.
That's representing me.
Yes.
So I'd want to verify it once that I'm actually speaking the truth, but two, that would shock me.
And I'm going to help you out because I think I know what he or she said.
Okay.
And how it got. So my guess is the total compensation is 5%. 2.5 is going to the buyer's agent and 2.5 is going to your seller's agent, which would make a lot of sense.
Because it wouldn't make any sense. Why would my selling agent be paid a full 5% and the buying agent's only paid 2.5%? So
correct.
I could be very easily making a mistake there for sure.
100%. And if your selling agent is currently getting 5% for themselves and offering out 2.5%, I need to immediately go work for them because they're doing one hell of a job. So I think that's what was explained. I'm gonna just as an enlightenment area, because I think it's part of what we do in Consumed is help consumers sort of better understand a couple things. And I really appreciate you sharing this. It's an uncomfortable topic, but this helps so many agents, right, understand really what's the consumer perception, what the right thing to do is. So what's interesting, Mike, in what you said is that from the buyer's side, as buying a home, you don't really kind of understand what that is all about. Now, we'll use Connecticut as an example because you're in the state of Connecticut. So, and what's interesting about the state of Connecticut for agents that may be listening to this, Connecticut is one of the few states where the real estate licenses are held by the Department of Consumer Protection, not by a board of real estate or division of real estate, which is very different. The Department of Consumer Protection is there to protect consumers. So, we have certain things in place in Connecticut that are different than maybe some other states. But what's super interesting, Mike, is the way that compensation. So there was are you familiar with a NAR lawsuit and the
I don't
settlement that
think so.
happened? Okay.
Mm-mm.
So NAR and a bunch of brokerages got sued about a year and a half ago now. And in that lawsuit, they lost that lawsuit. And one of the things that came out of that lawsuit, they were sued in essence for two things: steering and collusion. Those were the two things, because they said you're telling agents and educating agents and propagating this process in which agents are saying to people, well, standard commission around here is 5% or 6%, right? And this amount goes to the buyer's agent and this part is mine. But they were talking about it as a combined number. And because all real estate commissions are fully negotiable, right? What the new rules and regulations per the National Association of Realtors are that you have to separate those things out. So the first thing is the conversation should be had with any consumer about your compensation if I'm representing you as your seller's agent, right? So my fee, Mike, would be 2.5%. Once we finalize my fee, I'm going to explain the three options you have on the buyer side. But first, what questions do you have about my fee? And then you and I would talk about that portion.
So, but tell me this: why was there a conversation of, hey, we should be offering more to the buying age? Sorry, to the buying agent. Why should we be offering more when it's a 5%? Then wouldn't it always be 2.5%? So where does that like more percent come in?
That's a great question. So what happens now is, let's say I negotiate my fee with you as your seller's agent. Let's say it's 3%, right?
Okay.
Whatever, that 3.5% doesn't really matter. That's part of the negotiation of compensation for the work that I'm going to do for and with you. Okay.
Yep.
What the requirement states now is that NAR passed that all buyer's agents have to have a signed buyer agency agreement with their buyer. And that
Okay.
on that buyer agency agreement, they have to clearly state what the buyer agent compensation that they are charging their buyer's agent, their
Okay.
buyer for, right?
Yep. Yep.
And this is the most important statement. So if you're out there listening as an agent, please memorize this. All buyer agent compensation is fully negotiable up to the point of an accepted offer,
Okay.
which means you as the seller have every right to say, okay, for the buyer's agent, we're going to offer 2.5%. We're going to offer nothing. We're going to offer a flat dollar amount. That's completely up to you. And more importantly, Mike, is no matter what decision you make there, because all of those things are fully negotiable up to the point of an accepted offer, a good agent is going to say, Mike, we don't really need to make that decision right now. You see, what you're offering out should be contingent upon the quality of the offer and whatever agreement that buyer's agent has with their buyer. So if I'm representing you, Mike, what I want to do is be able to say, great, Mike, when a buyer calls me, a buyer's agent calls me and says, hey, we want to go see Mike's house. What are they offering? Right? My answer is always going to be the same. Well, my client fully understands the value of buyer agent compensation. They're excited to do a deal. Whatever you have in your agreement, when you send the offer over, put that in and send it over. We're excited to get something going. But I don't need to commit you to anything. Because think about it from your perspective. If you, Mike, have a property and you're like, hey, you know what? We're a little tight. We bought this at one spot. We're selling it at this. Why would you commit to giving something to somebody before you've ever even seen an offer? What if they
Very true.
lowball you?
I mean, it's a very fair point, and something that is extremely eye-opening for me, because the way that I would present it if I was selling something would be, you have a ton of options in the way you want to structure this commission,
Mm-hmm.
right? And present like different options. In my back of my mind until this very second, I was like, this is standard. And if we want to attract more offers, we can up the percentage to X. And I'm like, I mean, obviously that sounds good to me. I want the most
Sure.
amount of offers.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess shame on me for not knowing that it is negotiable at this point in time.
I want to make you feel a little bit better because it is no shame on you whatsoever. In fact, I'm going to venture to say that the agent that's representing you, there's zero shame on them. The shame that should
Totally.
be held is by the industry because
Yeah.
the industry isn't doing a good job of educating agents on these facts, right? Why? Because they don't really want to. You see, real estate, the industry on the whole is, I mean, doing everything and anything they can, privatize listings and all these different things, right? To try and maintain that control over what they call commission suppression, which is the reduction of commissions. And because it's how they make their money.
Mm-hmm.
So this has nothing to do with an agent being a good agent, a bad agent. I know some amazing agents who still struggle with this because no one's explained this to them. So just think about the number of people that you just helped enlighten, right? And just these conversations to understand. And it's better for the buyer side,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It's better for the consumer.
Yeah, because when you're talking about it, isn't it? Wouldn't you rather get paid something that get paid like nothing? Obviously, it's a silly statement, but you're not getting a dollar until this deal gets done anyway.
Right.
So why are you kind of like holding a hard line on some specific number where, depending on the deal, you're not going to be getting a dollar if it doesn't close anyway?
100% correct. And,
Yeah.
and as you said, that this is such an education point for so many people in the world of how real estate gets operated on. And I think the part that I'd be curious from your perspective is, you know, now knowing some of these things, what do you feel needs to change in the world of real estate then? It doesn't have to be just commissions, but like, what would you like to see done differently? What would you like to see look or feel different? What would make you feel more or in control or supported when it comes to the world of real estate?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good question. You know, and again, I'm gonna make some people probably roll their eyes with this right now, but I'm thinking to myself, why can't I sell my own home? Like why can't I do that, right? And it's this MLS kind of monopoly for loss of better word, or like why can't I market my house? Why can't I set up an open house? FYI. But that's a selfish comment. I know the value of real estate agents. There's no question in my mind that the good ones are worth every penny that they're going to be getting paid. But I think the ones that are just sitting back on MLS and just kind of like setting up an auto notification on MLS that every time the house within these parameters, to the point of on the negative one, they had some check mark there that was checked, and I try to remember what the check mark was. Maybe it was that there had to be 3 full bathrooms. So we realized that we weren't even getting 15% of the availability because something was probably fat finger checked on MLS where we weren't getting them. So I don't know if that's necessarily answering your question in terms of what can change, but that's
Yeah,
an experience. I do have one experience that I would like to share with you if you don't
please.
have
Yeah,
anything else.
100%.
This idea of pricing a house in order to, with the confidence and thought of this is going to go over ask. So this is something that I've been kind of seeing, right? Like every offer is, well, what is the average over ask price that this
Mhm.
house is going to go for? And I'm curious the thoughts on that, because clearly it's working, right? Like I got the first offer we got was over ask. Every offer we got was over ask, right? So I'm curious of the mindset there. Is it just, hey, this is a price to get you in the door and that sort of strategy? That's what it seems like to me.
Well, it's a great question. So, again, there's a lot of factors that come into that. One of which is going to be how much supply, how much inventory is on the market versus demand. Obviously, if there is a decent amount of supply, right, and there's a low amount of demand, that's not a great strategy.
Of course.
If you're smart and you might be around that middle level, sure, where you can probably push that a little bit. If there's a really big demand and there's not a lot of inventory, a la COVID, if you remember, that's what made home prices absolutely skyrocket.
Yep.
Then you can start to push that. I mean, in COVID, Mike, there were people that were making 5, 10, 15% over asking price offers, waiving all inspections. They had never seen the house. They'd never set foot in the house. They just bought a house, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, the short answer is it really is a little bit varied based on supply and demand economics. The second component to it is I talk to a lot of my consumers when they're, and I meet with a lot of consumers. I run a service where consumers can reach out to me. I will do an hour for free with them to talk about what they want to do. I couldn't sell their house. They could be in Colorado, doesn't matter. I just like talking to people, helping them kind of get prepared, understanding what to talk to an agent about. And a lot of times this model or idea comes up. The first question I have is, what is your motivation? Because when you understand someone's motivation, the second question becomes, what is your tolerance, right? What's the tolerance level for how long you're going to be on the market? Because when I understand those two things, it helps me craft that plan a little bit better for and with you, right? If your motivation is, I got a new job, I'm going to be relocated, well, we've got some urgency behind this that we need to push. If you're like, well, we thought we might put it on now, but there's no big rush because we're waiting for Cindy to graduate from high school by the end of the year and blah, 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 blah. That's a different story.
Yep.
Your tolerance level matters though, because you've seen this, how long you're going to be on the market for. Look, there's a certain stress. Buying, selling, moving is now the third most stressful time in a human being's life. It's right behind death and job loss. And if you think about it, you can't leave the shoes around. Everything's got to be picked up. You can't have dishes in the sink. Fluffy has to be in a crate.
Oh, don't even get me started. Thankfully, our house was under. We accepted an offer in 5 days, 6 days. One of the days was a blizzard we had here on last Monday, right? So house went on 5 days with a 2-year-old, coupled with buying another house and the inspections and the more. It was crazy.
Wild. Yeah.
It is wild. It is wild. And that, I don't know if it's avoidable, but maybe when you talk about how to improve that situation, that might be an area, because for someone like me, it is incredibly disruptive, incredibly.
100%. And so you're talking about something that's valuable to people to understand, because where a great agent comes into play was those two components. And by the way, to be clear, it sounds like you had a great agent, because
definitely
for that agent to price it correctly, know what's happening in the market, know what the tolerance level is, know what your and your wife and your family's needs are, that is essential, right?
Yeah, so he's worth the illegal commission, I guess.
I never said that.
I know, I'm kidding. It's definitely not true. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope I didn't.
No, you're totally fine. But no, it's a great point. And so, I as we wrap for the day, and this has been really, really helpful. I can't thank you enough for doing this. This helps so many, just like even consumers out there listening to this, right? That are like, wait a second, that's negotiable. I didn't know that, right? Incredibly helpful. Tell me, we'll do a little rapid fire at you.
Sure.
Okay. The first rapid fire question I'm going to throw is, if you had the current situation, the buy sell current situation to do over again, what would be the very first thing that you would do differently?
Oh man. I guess I didn't really think about it because I just didn't have a choice. I think, well, one is don't have, and this wasn't a negative for me, but in general, I think once your back is against the wall in any sort of parameter, it weakens your position right off the bat. So there's a timing constraint, there's a money, wherever those parameters lie. So give yourself as much time as possible would be my preference. It's for people with kids, my suggestion might be, hey, let's stick to a specific schedule of showings. But it's tough because you don't want to, if somebody can't make it during X, Y, and Z time,
Hmm.
but at least will give you like some sort of regularity in terms of when you need to get the kids out of the house, clean up, all of that sort of stuff. So maybe more of a schedule might be something that would be better. But no, in the bottom line here is, for me, I'm lucky in the sense of having a great selling experience and a great buying experience with both of my agents, which have been great. So not much I would change on that perspective.
Amazing. Rapid fire question number two. If you were ever going to become a real estate agent, what would be one thing that you would do that you think would set you apart from other people?
Well, I think that something that I've learned in my own career is really understanding what the what my client is truly trying to achieve. What do they ultimately want,
Hmm.
and be able to tie my value to those desires, right?
Mm.
Is it getting the right house? Is it getting the best price? What do those things really mean, so that I can effectively bring them to the table? If it's really cash or money constraint, maybe I come and talk about, hey, we can talk about the commission piece to make it better for you,
Hmm.
right? So just really understanding what's most important to your client, and
Hmm.
then structuring the deal to match that.
Last rapid fire question. If I came to you and said that working with me, one of the values that I offer as an agent is the fact that I can structure something in a way that fits your need
Now,
because I will tier my commission based on the needs that you have. Would that be something that would be interesting to you?
yeah, definitely. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's tough because in both of my cases, the real estate agent was a referral,
Hmm.
specific referral. Friend of mine used the selling agent, friend of mine used the buying agent, someone that people that I value their opinion. So I think the curiosity is, how are brokers distinguishing themselves to buyers that don't have an agent, and how are they doing that?
So if I came though and said, hey, working with me, depending on your needs, I have three different options, sort of like
Hmm.
packages, right?
Yeah.
And my commission changes depending upon what your needs are.
Yeah. Sorry, I know. Yeah, exactly. I would say, though, that in order to make that effective, you would have to know what the client's
Needs.
needs really are
Got it.
before. It's like, hey, of course, you can help me out. This guy can help me out. This woman can help me out, right?
Right.
But if you're somehow honing in on what are the things that I'm really looking for, hey, I went on LinkedIn, saw you change jobs, or hey, um, this and that, finding some research about the person, doing your homework, and trying to say, hey, based on what I know of you, I can help you in X, Y, and Z way. I think that'd be effective.
I love it. Can't thank you enough. I've done my research. So one thing I know is that you're a big ATV guy and you love quadding as a fun hobby.
Yeah.
But can't thank you enough, man. We really are super grateful from both the consumer perspective and what you've been through. I'm actually really glad to hear you got over asking on the property. You got a new home to go to. You got a baby on the way. Things seem like they're looking up, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been great to be on here. I really like the content. I've checked out a few of the podcasts, and being basically in a 2 week from signing a buying contract and signing a selling contract. I feel like I've given like a Harvard education in a full end-to-end real estate transaction, and this was even more helpful. So I'm well versed now. So thank you.
You're the best, man. Thanks for being here with us today and more to come next week.
Thank you very much.